Get ready for a rundown of the most electrifying knockouts in the boxing world. We're diving into the top 10, where each fight packs a punch with unforgettable moments and game-changing hits. These are the knockouts that left fans stunned and set the internet on fire. Let's jump into the action. Austin McBroom's knockout. In Austin McBroom's fight against a guy with 40 street fights, we saw some real boxing karma. Austin didn't waste a second, jumping right in with sharp jabs to the head. He kept mixing things up, throwing feints and changing his movement speed, which really threw Bryce off. Bryce, looking for a chance to counter, stood his ground, hoping to catch Austin off guard. There were moments of intense brawling, and you could tell Austin wasn't at ease. So he switched up his game plan, either putting up a solid defense or striking back with quick, straight punches while moving backwards. Austin's left straight was his knockout move. Every time he landed it, Bryce's head snapped back. He scored multiple knockdowns and finally a knockout in the third round. Bryce didn't hit the mat, but the smoothness and power of Austin's attacks was something else, totally deserving a shout out in this video. KSI versus Joe Weller. Let's talk about a knockout that's huge for boxing, not for its flashiness, but for its impact. Back in 2018, the first big influencer fight hit boxing, KSI versus Joe Weller. Joe started strong, landing some good jabs and keeping his distance. But KSI, aka JJ, quickly stepped up, hammering Joe with a barrage of jabs and then powering up with some heavy hits. JJ's attacks turned into a whirlwind of punches, and by the third round, Joe's face was a mess. The ref had to step in and stop the fight. Sure, it wasn't a showy knockout, but the real deal here was that KSI and Weller, two big influencers, were seriously throwing down. It wasn't just for show, they were really fighting, and it ended in a TKO. This fight proved that influencers can really box and their matches are genuinely exciting. FaZe Sensei's body knockout. 8th place is about a knockout that's different from the rest. We're used to seeing knockouts to the head, but this time it's a knockout to the body. In the FaZe Sensei versus Overt Flow fight, both fighters wore helmets, which made knocking someone out with a headshot tougher. So, Sensei played it smart and went for the body. It's important to remember these guys are new to the sport and don't have the best stamina yet. Everyone gets tired quickly in their first few fights. Sensei used this to his advantage, targeting the body to tire Overt Flow out even faster. The result? A brutal and clever knockout to the body. It's a smart move by FaZe Sensei, landing him this spot on our list. Jake Paul versus Nate Robinson. 7th place goes to a knockout by Jake Paul, a name you'll hear a lot in this video. He's racked up quite a few KOs. Let's dive into his fight with Nate Robinson, one of the most unique athletes around. Despite being on the shorter side, Nate's had a successful NBA career, and his athletic skills showed in the fight. In the beginning, despite some nerves, Robinson was faster and both fighters landed some punches. But as the first round ended, Nate's quick, explosive moves were taking a toll on his stamina. His speed in closing the distance became his downfall, as Paul caught him and knocked him down. In the second round, Jake finished the job, knocking Nate Robinson right into meme fame. This was the first boxing knockout that really opened up a whole world of memes. Austin McBroom versus DG. In 6th place is a fight that many call the best in boxing history. Austin McBroom versus Anderson Gibb. This clash was a classic showdown of athleticism versus sheer determination. Right from the first round, McBroom showed off his speed, power, and athletic skills. After a few solid hits, he knocked Gibb down, and it looked like Austin was about to score a knockout. But Gibb partly messed up by blocking his view with his guard, not seeing the punch that knocked him down. This unexpected turn boosted Austin's confidence, and he tried to finish Gibb off quickly, knowing he might lose steam soon. However, Gibb didn't mentally break. Instead, he went into full-on warrior mode, slowly wearing Austin down. This led to an epic comeback, with Gibb scoring several knockdowns and eventually knocking Austin out. It was a fight that had it all: speed, strategy, and an unforgettable turnaround. FaZe Jarvis versus Michael Leith Brawl. 5th place is all about a real slugfest, a fight that's as intense as any pro boxing match. We're talking about the clash between FaZe Jarvis and Michael Lee at the first Social Gloves event. This event was a goldmine for amazing moments and knockouts, but this particular fight was the cream of the crop. From the get-go, it was clear someone was going to be knocked out before the final bell. Michael came out swinging, but FaZe showed right away he was all in, with no intention of slowing down. This led to a wild exchange of blows. Michael initially took the lead, but once Jarvis figured out how to dodge and counter with a powerful overhand, the tide turned. FaZe's punch knocked Michael down once, boosting his confidence. Despite the knockdown, Michael kept pressing, but a second knockdown by Jarvis at the end of the round only pumped FaZe up more. Starting the second second round with energy, Jarvis dodged another series of attacks and, coming out of a clinch, knocked Michael down again. Let's take another look at this incredible knockout and then move on. Slim's Snake-like. Fourth place showcases a YouTuber who fights like a slick, venomous snake. We're zooming in on the knockout in the Slim versus FaZe Tempera fight. The first round was evenly matched, with both fighters exchanging blows, but as the fight progressed, Slim's snake-like feints started to dominate. His unusual body and shoulder movements were like a clever disguise, keeping Tempera guessing whether Slim would come in with a jab, sidestep for a counter, or launch a heavy straight punch. Interested in Slim's fighting style? Drop a comment if you want a breakdown of his techniques. Slim's snake-like moves allowed him to connect with jabs and powerful straights effectively. At the end of these exchanges, he'd clinch to avoid taking hits. Tempera got used to thinking Slim clinched just for defense, but in the second round, Slim landed a massive punch right out of a clinch. Realizing he had Tempera rattled, Slim, like a true predator, went in for the kill and beautifully finished off FaZe with a whipping punch. Let's face it might be time for Slim to switch his nickname from Hitman to Snake. Jake Paul vs. Ben Askren. Third place takes us to the surprising bout between Jake Paul and Ben Askren. Before this fight, nobody really thought Jake would step up to fight real fighters. He'd been in the ring with influencers and athletes, but a match against a seasoned fighter, that's a whole different ballgame. Although Askren wasn't known for striking, he had solid stamina and could take hits, leading many experts to predict he'd weather Jake's initial flurry and tire him out. But come fight day, it all went down differently. Askren barely had time to get into the groove before Jake Paul stunned everyone. He knocked out Askren effortlessly, making it look like a walk in the park. This easy win got people seriously interested in who Jake would take on next. It was a knockout that shifted opinions and raised eyebrows, showing Jake could hold his own against more experienced fighters. Salt Poppy's Spectacular. Second place is a real showstopper. Just by looking at how the fighters were standing, you could tell who was going to deliver the knockout, but the actual spectacle was beyond anyone's expectations. It was as if, right after the bell rang, the fighting spirit of Manny Pacquiao took over Salt Pappy. He used a couple of feints to see what his opponent would do when they were up close, and then he was all set to wow the crowd. Salt Pappy threw a jab to draw his opponent's arms out and followed up with a powerful left hook. What came next was like something out of a Street Fighter game, a combo that led to one of the fastest and most brutal knockouts in boxing history. It happened so quickly, we need to see it again to appreciate the sheer brilliance of it. This knockout begs the question, is Salt Pappy ready to take on serious fighters like KSI? After a display like that, it's a question worth considering. He's shown he's got the moves and the power to make a splash in the ring. Jake Paul's rematch. First place goes to a real jaw-dropper, the rematch between Jake Paul and the former UFC champ Tyron Woodley. In their first fight, Jake won by decision. But everyone was talking about that moment when Woodley almost knocked Jake out with a single punch. So the rematch was set to clear the air. Was Woodley's punch a fluke, or was Jake just lucky to be near the ropes and stay on his feet? The first fight was okay, but nothing too exciting. However, compared to the rematch, it felt like a blockbuster movie. Viewers at the arena and at home were almost dozing off when, out of nowhere, Jake Paul lands this massive hook, knocking out the former UFC champion. It's a big deal because this was the first time in Woodley's career he's been KO'd with one punch. That hook didn't just put Woodley to sleep, it jolted everyone awake in the arena and around the world. And there you have it, the top knockouts that shook up boxing world. From jaw-dropping power punches to stunning comebacks, these moments define what makes the sport so thrilling. Remember, in the ring, anything can happen. Do not forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more epic battles and knockout action.